And I'd like to start by asking you all to stand. We'll do the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Next, we'll have a prayer for the opening of the meeting.
Dear Heavenly Father, I ask that this evening we be reminded of your presence and your commandments as we come together as neighbors to hear about an issue that can raise emotions over thoughtful logic. I ask that you lead us to the truth without fear or hate. Thank you for providing us with a country and a system of laws that allows us this freedom to assemble. And as such a right is not available in many countries around this bountiful planet you have created for us. Thank you for blessing us with neighbors who wish the right things to happen for all. Thank you for the words of one of the lesser-known founding fathers, Stephen Hopkins, who said, "I've never seen, heard, nor smelled an issue that was so dangerous it couldn't be talked about." And your Son, who gave us the golden rule, do unto others as you would have others do unto you. I ask your blessing for all in attendance, for everyone they know, and for all persons of goodwill everywhere. Amen.
Amen. Hey, John. Thank you so much. I'm glad I made it. Thank you.
We tonight are honored to have a special guest with us who's going to explain some of the serious attributes she has suffered because of the illegal immigration issue that's confronted this country. We want to hear her story, and then we'll ask for questions and answers that she can address and try to get some meaningful results of her presence here tonight, explaining her situation and the history of what happened to her. So, Terry, I give you to do the introduction.
Tonight I want to introduce to you a true patriot fighting for our country, our dear sweet angel mom, Agnes Gibboney.
Thank you very much. Do you mind if I go up there? I can speak very loudly, or do you need a microphone?
I don't think you will.
Can you take the microphone with you? It stays on the camera better if you have the microphone. The camera catches it better.
Okay.
Oh,
we'll
that's
do that.
perfect. Thank
This
you.
way I'm not hiding behind here. Before I start, I would like you to meet my son. This is my only son, Ronald da Silva, my firstborn, and he was 29 when he was murdered by a previously deported illegal alien. My story started in Hungary, in Budapest, Hungary, where I was born. I was 2 years old when my parents left as refugees. We stayed in a refugee camp for about 10 months, waiting to come to the United States. But because my father was born in Yugoslavia, they wanted us to stay there. And my mother said, no, we're going to America. And they said, well, if you don't stay, you're not going to go to America. So we were given 3 choices. South Africa, my mother said, no way. Austria, right next door to Hungary, she goes, no way. Or Brazil. We ended up going to Brazil, where we lived for 13 years, applied 3 times to immigrate to the United States. The first 2 applications lapsed, and the 3rd time we were successful. And contrary to the belief, it doesn't take years and years and years and years. I think we started the process in June, and in November we legally came to the United States through the legal port of entry in LAX with our green cards that we received in the mail the next day. An interesting thing is my father had to have a job contract so the government wouldn't have to support us. What an interesting concept. Plus, they had to sign a legal document stating that they would not apply for any public assistance. That's another concept that's kind of gone out out the window lately. In 2002, April, my only son had gone over to visit his 2 children. He had 2 boys, 8 and 10, and his girlfriend got held up at work, and he was gonna leave. He was talking to a friend on the edge of the driveway when he noticed somebody coming from behind his friend in the dark and said, "Who is that coming?" His friend turned around, and that instantly he fired a gun, striking my son in the arm. The bullet traveled across his chest, severing a main artery, and he died 3.5 hours later in surgery, where he bled to death in spite of massive blood transfusions. My 2 daughters and I were at Lake Paris camping with Girl Scouts when the park ranger woke us up, telling me that I had an emergency, I needed to call home. Panic set in because I thought something happened to my mother because she was experiencing high blood pressure issues. But it had nothing to do with that. My husband answered the phone and said, Tom, a detective at El Monte PD, who happened to be our best man, said that Ronald had been shot in the shoulder. He's in surgery, expected to survive. I cannot tell you how I despise that word, expected to survive. If you notice, anytime there's a shooting, a stabbing, the media always said the victim is expected to survive. So I had hopes. I drove home like a maniac on the 60 freeway coming home, and when I got home, my husband met me in the hall. I heard my 2 daughters crying, and I said, oh great, he's not gonna let them go to County USC where my son was having emergency surgery, in critical care, and I don't care how bad of a neighborhood that is, I'm going there. I'm gonna be there when my son wakes up from surgery, because knowing my son, he was petrified of needles. And I just wanted to be there for him when he came out of surgery. And to let him know that I would take care of him, that he didn't need to worry about anything. But when I walked in the house, my husband met me halfway in the hallway, and he hugged me and he said, I'm so sorry. And I said, oh no, that's okay. And I tried to walk around him. He held me back, and he said, you don't understand. Ronald didn't make it. I felt like somebody poured a bucket, not ice water, but hot water over me. I felt this heat go to my head, down to my body really quick. I became so disoriented that I couldn't find clothes to change in for my sweat outfit that I was wearing at the campground. And I called my mother and I told her, and she goes, did you find out? Did you find out? What's with my Ronald? What's with my Ronald? Their first grandchild. And I couldn't utter the word, he died. I said, Ronald is not here. Ronald is gone. And my father, I could hear my father in the background yelling, what's with my Ronald? What's with my Ronald? What? And then she goes, just be quiet. What? I can't hear. What? And it was such a commotion. And I told my mother Ronald didn't make it. And my mother said, Jesus, you shouldn't joke like that. That isn't funny. And I said, I have never joked about anything serious like this in my life. It was a pause. And then I hear my father asking, what happened, what happened? And she told him in Hungarian, Ronald is dead. And the wailing that he let out, I still hear it today. Whoa! I mean, he just let it all out. And I told my mother, I'm going to the hospital, because deep inside my heart, my brain wasn't connecting with reality. I knew it was a mistake. I wanted it to be a mistake. Somebody that had his wallet, somebody that looked like him, anything but my son laying there. And so I picked up my mother, my 2 daughters, went to El Monte PD where they called a unit and took us down to the police department where they were waiting for us, and they took us to the hospital. There were 2 officers there that I asked one question. Did my son say anything? All I wanted to hear is that my son said, tell my mom I love her. And he goes, no, ma'am. He opened his eyes and he passed out because he was losing oxygen. And he never came out of surgery. They took us upstairs to the second floor, out of the elevator immediately to the right, a little tiny little office with a single desk. And I'm thinking, this is really gonna be bad. I was petrified of dead bodies. And all I could think, I'm gonna be looking at somebody else's dead body here pretty soon. They opened the door, they led into another room, a big room with 5 chairs on the side, ceiling to floor, wall to wall drapes. And I'm talking to the officers, to my mother, to my kids, like nothing happened. Because in my mind, this is not true. Why would anybody kill my son? This happens in bad neighborhoods to bad people, not the good people. At one point, I don't know if there was a knock on the wall or a window. I do not recall that, and none of us do. The officer stood to the side, held his clipboard, and said, Mrs. Gibboney, your son is behind the drapes. And I almost passed out. I had to sit down. I said, I gotta do this, I gotta do this. This is for Ronald, I gotta do this. He opened the drapes, and there was a window in front of me, and a gurney parallel to the window. And I'm thinking, all I saw was the green sheets, and as they opened the drapes more, I saw my son's face to the right. Eyes were still taped, still intubated, and he's just laying there with a tiny little smudge of blood on the collar on the sheet. And I said, and I banged on that window, and I said, Ronald, if you knew my son, he was a prankster, and I thought he was putting a good one on me. I said, this was a real good one, Ronald. Just open your eyes. Please don't do this. Just open your eyes. Don't do this. And he just never responded. I was not allowed to hold my son. I was not allowed to hug him. Nothing. Next time I saw him was in the morgue. The whole week was like a nightmare that I just wanted to wake up from, and I couldn't. I didn't sleep. I didn't eat. I didn't care if anybody ate. I was not functioning. I was in complete shock. I just couldn't function. People would come and bring us dinner, and I said, oh, no, we don't need any. No, we're fine. I never even thought about my family. I was so distraught. But people brought food out of the kindness of their heart, and trust me, it really matters, because I remember every single one that reached out to me and my family. I still remember, almost 17 years later, everybody, and I remember most of the dishes that they brought too. So it really makes a difference. Comes the funeral, it was like, this isn't happening. This just cannot happen. How they didn't have a suspect. Mind you, I cracked my own case, because you put a mother out there, a heartbroken mother, fighting for her child. I didn't care if somebody shot me. I didn't care. I just wanted to bring justice for my son, and I did. I eventually found the 2 witnesses that testified. We met at an undisclosed location. They ID'd the suspect, the killer, who, by the way, fled to Mexico immediately after the shooting. And eventually he turned himself in, because they found out that his girlfriend was depositing money in the credit union, and he was withdrawing it in the TJ in Tijuana. So welfare checks at work. It worked really well. We went for about a year of trial, and ultimately the sentencing, waiting for the jury to come up, the judge, California liberal judge, Mr. Gonzalez, are you sure you don't want to plead the case? You should plead the case. And I look at my husband, I'm thinking, what in the heck is this judge doing? A second time, Mr. Gonzalez, you should plead the case, because you're still going to be a young man when you come out. Think about it. And I looked at my husband and said, this judge needs to shut up. And we're still waiting for the jury to come up. This is a Pomona Superior Court. A third time, Mr. Gonzalez, you're still going to be a young man and still have time to spend with your children, with your family. And I was outraged. He took my child, but he's going to get to spend time with his family and his children. and he took the plea to voluntary manslaughter, got the maximum 11 years, plus 10 years for using a firearm. And he's due to come out next year. I'm fighting like crazy, any open door that I can walk through to make sure that federal government does its job as it's supposed to be done, to pick up a criminal, illegal alien who had been previously deported, to take him out to a trial in a federal court because they violated the law after deportation. They re-entered the country, that's a felony, and on top of that, they committed the ultimate crime, murder. So I'm still fighting that. California being a sanctuary state, I don't know where that's gonna be, but I'm not gonna stop fighting ever. My daughter posted a post on Facebook in December saying, I'm looking forward to the new year, what the new year will bring. Although has a lot of anxiety, not knowing if the guy that killed my mother's son, my brother, my nephew's father, is remorseful or revengeful. So this is how my family lives. I, as an American citizen, the only country I have citizenship of, United States of America, because Hungary took our citizenship away when we escaped from Hungary in '56 or January '57, and we immigrated here as stateless, as we didn't belong anywhere. And my government is not protecting me and my family. This is an outrage that most Americans need to start opening their eyes and start holding their congressmen, their senators, their representatives accountable. Because if you don't speak up, you're gonna be one of me come next month, next year, or 2 years from now, because the invasion at the southern border is not stopping. And it's gonna be a matter of when. Maybe your child is not gonna be murdered, shot with a gun. Maybe it'll be a hit and run. Maybe it'll be a DUI. We need to stand up and speak up for our country. I had the incredible honor of working with President Trump, candidate Trump, campaigning with him on several times. And I was at the White House last June when he gave a press conference at the White House on border security, along with, I think it was 9 or 12 of us angel families. And President Trump is on our side. He's not a politician. He is a person like you and me that truly cares about this country. Never mind his little tweets, never mind he's not politically correct. It doesn't matter. What matters is he has been extremely successful so far, and we need to give him the benefit of the doubt. Last Friday, or Tuesday, I flew to DC. Last week, Friday, I was at the White House. We had a very candid meeting with the president. Took a picture with him behind in the Oval Office, behind his desk. And then he says, come sit down. We sat down at the couch for about 20, 25 minutes. I have never in my life seen President Trump feel so frustrated as he looked that day. And he said, you guys have no idea how bad things are here. This is a coup from within. And we need to call out whoever is giving President Trump bad advice, whoever is not supporting him. We need to move him out of office and move him out of the way. He has done tremendous things for this country. The economy, everything has gotten so much better. And we need to make a stand, because if we don't, we all gonna lose. There is nothing I can do for my son. This is my son. And this is his fabricated, manufactured grave in January at the cemetery at Forest Lawn in Covina Hills, where I celebrated his 46th birthday. A mother should never have to go to the cemetery to light a candle for her son to celebrate his birthday, ever. That's not how we're supposed to be celebrating our children's birthday. But at the meeting in the Oval Office, President Trump said that Speaker Ryan was useless. And so was Jeff Sessions. And we all knew that, didn't we? And when he let him go, everybody, oh my God, President Trump fired Jeff Sessions. Should have fired him after 2 months. Because he did absolutely nothing. He was incredibly candid, and my heart just broke as a mother. I just wanted to stand up and say, can I just give you a hug as a mom? Because I felt sorry for the man. He is working so hard for this nation, for this country, and the opposition from within are trying to destroy him and destroy this nation. You know what? We need to stand up and we need to fight. We only have one chance. My family left socialism, communism, and this country is headed that way. And trust me, you wouldn't like what socialism is. Just to give you a little example, when I was born, my parents were not allowed to take me to the church to have me baptized. So they handed me to my godparents, just a couple walking in a church so they could baptize me. Because 4 people going in, that's pretty obvious, right? The parents and the godparents. And then to make a luncheon, in Hungary, you only got a voucher, depending how many people you had in your family, a voucher as to how much meat you could buy a week. So her co-workers would gave her their voucher so my mother could have a luncheon after my baptism. And if young people don't understand what communism is, do a little test with them. Ask them for their little beloved little cell phone. Tell them to put it down here. Or we're not going to touch it. Just put it down here. And when you gather about 5 or 10 of them, it says, okay, let's take them all to a pawn shop. Oh, what the heck? Why are you taking my cell phone? That's my phone. Well, that's what socialism is, dear. We take, because you have more than the homeless guy on the corner, so we're going to divide it among everybody. See how they would like that. Take your computer too while you're at it, because you're misusing it. But we need to stand. This is a great nation, a great country, and we cannot let this country fall. This is our chance. And we have to be accountable. We select these people in office. They're accountable to you. We went to Nancy Pelosi's office in Washington, D.C. on, arrived on Tuesday, so Wednesday. A tiny little office. Both of the doors behind the desk was open, and another door as you first walked into her office was open. The minute we walked in, somebody got up, shut that door, and shut the other door. Okay, can we have a meeting with the representative or Nancy Pelosi? Oh, she isn't here. Well, we tried for 2 weeks to get an appointment with her. None of us got an answer. 29 people, and none of us got an answer. And then when I walked out, picture this wall lined up with police officers, Capitol Police. And I looked and I go, what the heck is this? And then down the hallway and around. And I walked up to one officer and said, hi, thank you for your service. Is this all for us? For the Angel Moms? And he goes, yes, ma'am. And I says, boy, do we look vicious and violent here? He goes, no, ma'am. I said, we're just fighting for our children and for yours too, for that matter. Next day we went back. 3 police officers showed up. And one of them was ruder than anything, a woman. I said, hi, how are you? Good. And she turned her back and walked away. Obnoxious. We went to Kamala Harris's office. And mind you, they have a beautiful California flag, an American flag, and a LGBTQ flag, and a big poster that says, Dreamers welcome here. What about Americans welcome here? And we went inside and I said, I would like to speak with Kamala Harris. Oh, she's in here. well, can I speak to a representative? Oh, we don't have anybody. And I said, well, we are, can I leave you a picture? And I left her one of these. I said, could you please let her know that this is not manufactured, this is real, and she needs to work for us American citizens and not illegal aliens and criminal illegal aliens. She smirked in my face. That is something, don't do. You don't do that. And then another mother was talking, she smirked in her face, and I called her out. And I said, you know, it's very disrespectful of you to be smirking in people's face when they're talking to you. You just don't do that. That's very disrespectful. And then she caught herself and she says, well, I'm sorry. And I said, no. I said, you should be more professional than that. In spite of you not agreeing with our point of view, it could have been your child. And then the smile, the smirk really went away. And she says, I'm so sorry, I have a child that's dying too. And I said, my heart goes out to you. I showed her compassion that she couldn't show to me. But I am tired of going to Schumer's office. Schumer's office actually gave us about an hour with a representative, his immigration specialist in his office, and said, yeah, exactly. But we couldn't videotape, but I took a picture anyways to document that we were there. And she, you know, how they talk around the issues, you gotta be pretty dumb not to see what they're doing. It is disgusting. And we need to call these people out. We need to remind them they were voted by American citizens and they need to stop this. We need to hold them accountable. And we need to remember that next election, not to vote them in. And I'll tell you too that you gotta be very, very careful. The Muslim woman, whatever state she's from, Minnesota, is it Minnesota?
Minnesota, Michigan.
Okay, and Ocasio-Cortez. She already said she wants this to be a socialist country. Well, I would like to grab her little neck and take her to Venezuela for a year. Because I don't see anybody from a socialist country, from another country going into a socialist country. I see everybody fleeing. Because if socialism was so good, they wouldn't be leaving. Because Venezuela, I've never been there, but apparently it's a very beautiful country. And they're fleeing like crazy because it's so bad. But we need to fight for this country. I'm telling you, President Trump is not against you. He is doing whatever he can. I asked him not to sign specifically the 224A, the part that an illegal alien has a minor with him, with that person. Anybody in the household cannot be deported. What kind of hypocrisy is that? This is a Democrat idiocracy. And he said, I wish I could, but I can't. Trust me, I hate this bill, but I cannot shut the government down again. Remember, the government is three parties: the president, the House, and the Senate. The president can't just say, you know what, I'm gonna just do this and do it. Imagine if it could be like that, what this country would be today. Hillary would be in prison, Nancy Pelosi would be in prison, Schumer would be in prison. All of those rhinos that didn't do anything, they would be out of office. We would be doing elections left and right, trying to fill their spots. But we have to keep fighting. And I will fight until the end because this is the only country I have. I don't have dual citizenship, and I will fight for this country because when I took my citizenship oath to defend my country against domestic and foreign invaders, I'm doing just that. And this at the southern border, this is an invasion. There is nothing I can do for my son. I wish I could. I really wish I could, but I can't. I can't go over the border to hug him, to see him. So when these illegals complain that they're being separated from their families temporarily, go cry somewhere else, because I really don't want to hear it. Walk in my shoes for a few days and see how you like it. And if you don't know how it feels, Just imagine someone that you dearly love, and imagine standing over their coffin. How would that feel? And know that you will never, ever see them again. Thank you so much. If you have any questions, there is no hard questions. I'll be happy to answer any question that you may have. Any questions?
Yes. What year did you immigrate?
We immigrated to the U.S. in November of 1970, when United States was still America. Because I remember being 16 years old and thinking, wow, this country is awesome. All the government is working together in unison. Everybody just works so well together. And then in the 80s, things started changing slowly and surely, and then 90s, and look where we are today. Any other questions? Are you sure?
Answered them all.
Thank you
did a
so
great
much.
job.
Thank you.